We can make a start then. Good morning everybody to this Cabinet meeting. The last Cabinet meeting of this council term before residents in Telford Wrekin get an opportunity to vote for a new council, a new set of councillors to represent their communities. And as an administration, a Labour administration, we will be taking the case, I'm sure, like other political parties, to the doorstep, as we have over the last few months, to make that positive case that Telford Wrekin Council is better under Labour. Lower council tax than the average, £230 a year on an average Band D property, £500 a year saving compared to the highest council tax bill in the Midlands, and a council on the side of our residents, whether that be standing up for our A&E and fighting the plans to close our A&E, make us the biggest town in the Midlands without a fully functioning A&E, whether that be fighting for our consultant-led women's and children's unit, where babies and women and children are treated with care and high regard, or whether that be campaigning to get more police officers on the beat of our streets to tackle antisocial behaviour and crime. Those are the three focuses of this administration and will continue to do. One of the other things that we have been ruthlessly focused on is securing grants and external funding from anybody who we can, and I'm delighted that Michael Gove, the Secretary of State for Levelling Up, who wrote to me yesterday confirming that yet another grant application has been successful, securing this time just over £9.8 million for Wellington. I'm delighted that the grant was successful, together with the other grants that we've provided. But for those people who say that we should be grateful for the government giving us the government's money, I would just point out gently that it's our own money that we're getting back into Telford Wrekin, that residents in Telford Wrekin are sending more money to Whitehall than at a higher level than any time in the last 70 years, and getting some money back is positive. But I would like to thank all of our partners who have worked with us on those Levelling Up funding, and we as a council, with a track record of delivery, will now get on and deliver for Wellington against this bid. I want to say particular thanks to the Wellington councillors, but in particular Lee Carter, the Cabinet Lead for Regeneration, for his leadership on this project. We've also seen this last few days the announcement of the public health grant. Today, in fact, we've now got our news of the public health grant. A 2-year settlement, an over 10% real terms cut in public health, which will mean that the funding that this council provides in tackling public health will be reduced in real terms for the next 2 years. At a time when our NHS is in crisis and we need to keep people out of hospital, the sticky and plaster approach of the government to cut public health funding is just beggars belief. And we'll do all that we can to make sure that our public health offer is as good as it can be. But I do think it's short-sighted of the government to be cutting that public health grant. And finally, residents around Telford Wrekin, like me as a resident, are seeing potholes as a result of the cold weather. And my direct appeal to our residents is, you report them and we will fix them, and we'll fix them quickly. And the government announced some funding of £200 million in yesterday's budget for potholes. But to put that into context, that is £200 million after last year they reduced the budget by £400 million. So effectively giving us a little bit of money back. But we'll make sure that we'll put in money, our money that Labour put forward in terms of the budget to fix potholes. But I do want residents to know that if you report them, they will be fixed. They will be fixed quickly. Those are my leaders' announcements. Are there any apologies for absence?
Thank you. We have apologies from Councillor Eade.
Declarations of interest. Minutes of the previous meeting. Happy for you to sign those? Okay, lovely. I'll sign those. Item 5 then is the cost of living strategy update. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Chris. I'm delighted to present this report, which updates on the successful delivery of our cost of living strategy, which was approved by Cabinet last October. And I want to say a big thank you to all of our council staff, our partners and our councillors who have worked on this strategy. to ensure that we're helping our residents with the cost of living crisis. The cost of living crisis is affecting every household across Telford and Wrekin, and our first point of determination was to ensure that we did freeze council tax for 2 years. That helps every single household in the borough, and as I said earlier on, residents now save £230 a year against the average council tax bill, and up to £500 a year against the highest council tax bill. And I know from speaking to residents that this is something that helps them and their personal finances. But we are seeing demand for non-universal services increase significantly. There's been a 45% increase in people needing crisis assistance, mainly to heat their homes. The number of families needing help with school uniform has almost doubled, and most shockingly of all, more than 332,000 meals have been provided by food banks over the last 12 months, which represents a 27% increase in that support. But we also recognise the cost of living is also impacting businesses, and therefore we've been trying to help businesses with their cost of living concerns. We've been looking at ways in which we can help businesses with their energy costs and a level of ongoing support with their energy bill relief scheme. But the situation remains volatile and business recovery is fragile, particularly in the hospitality and retail sectors. Despite the council itself having its cost of living pressures, we've continued to invest in this critical agenda. We've made available £12 million of support, and this has been supplemented by the work of our trusted partners. And I would like to say again, on behalf of all councillors here, a big thank you to those partners who work with us day in and day out to support our communities. Just a few examples of how we've helped residents. We've established 35 warm and welcoming spaces across the borough. It was my delight to visit one of those in Oaken Gates just recently, talking to residents about what those facilities mean. We've delivered a range of free or low-cost activities for all. For example, we've built on our free swimming offer so that now everybody under the age of 25 can swim for free, and more than 500 children are currently learning to swim for free through our free swimming lessons offer, which was launched last autumn. We've also played our part in making Christmas both enjoyable and affordable, with the amazing Telford drone show and festival gardens, both free events where hundreds, if not thousands, of residents came to enjoy. And again, I know speaking to families directly just how that those events meant to them. We've also provided vouchers to 13,000 low-income households to help them with the cost of food. And everybody will see from their own big shop, I'm sure, the 20% increase in food bills, food costs right now. We've invested an additional £90,000 into our local 5 food banks to help them with the increased demand. And again, having visited Telford Crisis Support only a couple of weeks ago, it was clear that those people who traditionally donated food to food banks are now, sadly, looking to receive help from food banks. We've supported the Age UK Benefit Advice Service, which has helped older people in the borough claim more than £1 million extra over the last 12 months, and we've distributed thousands of new LED and free new LED light bulbs to reduce household energy costs for residents. And also we've launched our Better Homes loan for those not eligible for the energy efficient grants. For businesses, we continue to provide consultancy support, which helps businesses diversify, to grow and to survive. And we've held 2 energy-focused events which have been attended by over 100 businesses, and we've launched our Cost of Doing Business microsite to promote all the support that's available. On our high street, we continue to support businesses to stay open and to open up, and we've provided 29 eco grants to date, with 10 more in the pipeline, helping businesses tackle the cost of their energy on the high street. We've been using our climate change fund to support businesses to reduce their energy costs. For example, Fabwell Steel, who have installed EV charging points, which are publicly accessible and are used with 100% renewable energy. Looking forward, we're committing £2 million of our UK SPF allocation to deliver more business grants programmes addressing a wide range of business issues such as energy efficiency, export and digital upskilling. However, the International Monetary Fund is predicting the UK economy will contract in 2023, and even though yesterday's budget gave some positive news in terms of that recession will be less deep than we first thought, the government is predicting the biggest hit to the quality of living since records began. That means that we have to continue to be ruthless in our support for our businesses, our residents, and for our communities. I really do hope that we can continue to support our residents in the way that we have, but I've got to level with residents too that whilst our funding continues to be cut in the way that it's being cut, that will mean that we can do less. And I'm frustrated, like many people, that people who are on universal credit, who are on modest incomes, are continue to be left behind by this government. This is a fantastic report with a whole set of recommendations which I propose. Is there a seconder for those recommendations? Thank you, Richard. Paul.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. I want to thank the officers. Particularly, this is a corporate report. It isn't one part of this council. It is the council working at its best across the board with our communities. From the big things, from the business support that we give, to the smaller things, the light bulbs, and it's amazing seeing those light bulbs being given out, and I saw them given out in Madeley at during the Christmas lights event. The difference that makes to people, just being able to get some of those things that's going to affect their electricity bills in a small but positive way. Again, I would want to say we couldn't have done this without our trusted partners across the borough, and those trusted partners in the third sector and the and other trusts are really, really important to us in the way that we can provide the kind of services that really make a difference to our citizens in Telford and Wrekin. I think it's a great report. I think it shows what a Labour council does when it works well together with its community. It is a challenge. We have to be very, very pragmatic with everybody and tell them the effects the cuts that are having on us. But we will always put our people first. Thank you.
I agree. I think it's fantastic work. Clearly a labour of love, excuse the pun. You can tell as well as the council, the whole teams really do feel passionately about the support we give our residents, which is huge. I think it's unfortunate that we have to do this. The government has always, I think it's, as I was saying earlier, promising us jam tomorrow, never comes. And it's being able to fill in that gap and support our residents is vital. I think the warm spaces are amazing, and not only providing that food and warmth, but it's tackling isolation, loneliness, and giving people an outlet to really talk about their concerns and just socialise with others. It's vital, I think, for people's health and well-being to be able to get out and not be isolated, sitting in a house cold, which is where we are these days, really sad. And I think the help to quit smoking is fantastic. And the amount of money that saves for people, I know because I've quit. It saves a lot of money, and that could be the difference. It saves enough quitting to pay your gas and electric bills, doesn't it? It's vital. So the more support we can give people to make those changes, the better. And I'm just really proud of everything we do, and this is exactly why I became a member of the Labour Party. So.
Thank you, Eileen?
Thinking back to 2019 when I joined the council, I would have never imagined that we'd have been through the time that we've been through over the last 4 years with COVID and obviously the increased costs. I know there's been the war in Ukraine has added to that, but I think we have literally fared the worst of most of the countries due to the government. And that's one of the reasons why when we were at our budget meeting at full council recently, it was really important for me to support that budget, because that's what pays for this support to be delivered to residents across our borough. When we put it into real terms, if you look at that, 696,000 meals delivered to people, that's real support that people need desperately in a time like this, added on top of the things like freezing the council tax and support with energy, and as Paul said, things like LED bulbs. It's those kinds of things that are making a real difference day by day for people. But it is shocking to think that where we're at with things like food banks and the energy costs that we're at. So obviously on a longer term note, we have to be looking at more sustainable energy for the future. We can't be left in this position for a long period of time. It's just really that the one thing that really made a difference to me, and I know I mentioned it previously, was talking to an older resident in one of the housing association complexes who'd had a food voucher for Christmas, and she just was made up with this food voucher. She said, I've never been given anything before, and it really, really made a difference to me. And that to me just sort of made everything that we do here worthwhile. So I really do thank the teams and all of the partners that deliver this. But I think unless people support the budgets that pay for it, we won't be doing any of this work moving forward. So we need to make sure that that's something we concentrate on. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Eileen. Richard.
Yeah, I mean, this report is, exceptional report in the fact that we as a council, as Paul said, across the council have been delivering for our residents. I mean, when we got elected in 2019 on our manifesto, which said to protect, care and invest, this is the caring bit. This is something that we said that we would do. We don't just play on words, we actually do care. The government should have done more following their disastrous budget. The Liz Truss budget, they should have done more and they haven't, and we've stepped up as a council and we've started to deliver for our residents, and the caring element is there for everyone to see. And I'm really proud that as a Labour politician that we are there trying to support the most vulnerable in our town. One of our key commitments was to reduce health inequalities, reduce inequalities across the board, and this cost of living crisis is increasing inequalities, and so we're there trying to step in. But as the leader said, we are losing money. The government keep cutting our budgets when we need them to be giving us more money, because we know what local people need. We know how to interact with local people, and this report I'm really proud of, because we can't create a better borough if people are struggling. And that's what we want to do together. And as a council, we've come together, and as a Labour administration, we're delivering for our residents. And as Eileen says, it's all right pretending the politics of voting against or for a budget, but when we put those figures into that budget, there's a reason why we do it. And we did it because we support our residents. We are on the side of residents. They're not just slogans. We are showing it through this report, and I'm really passionate that how we've done it, and I'm really proud of this council in delivering this report.
Thank you. Andy?
Yeah, just very pleasing to see this report and see a council doing all it can to protect its residents from the mistakes and inadequacies of central government. I mean, separately yesterday, I had two residents within the course of in the space of an hour telling me how much they appreciated what the council's doing and comparing us favourably with neighbouring Conservative-controlled Shropshire. That was very heartening. I suppose what impresses me is the range and the depth of these measures. They cut right across the council, from light bulbs to business support to warm and welcoming spaces. It touches every part of what we do, which is great to see. And I think it's important to say that this isn't a one-off. This builds on the way we operate, doesn't it? It's not just something we've invented for this crisis. It is something which is an extension of what we already do, and that I think is the important and telling feature of it. So yes, my thanks to all those who put all the effort into this work and the staff who are making it work. Thank you.
I think this is one of the most comprehensive reports I've seen from the council. The thought and the consideration that's gone into pretty much every part of our community who are feeling the effects of the current cost of living crisis. And that's a great badge of pride for us, but it's a badge of shame for the government and a damning indictment on them. A lot of it has been self-inflicted. And quite frankly, it's terrible. The fact that we've got 35 warm spaces in our borough, the number of food banks has increased to 5. That 1 in every 5 households has had to receive support or advice on the cost of food this winter. absolutely scandalous. But I'd like in this to focus on the efforts around business, because they've also suffered some effects, a lot of effects, and we're talking here about some of the small businesses and some of the hardest working people you'll find, local pubs, local barbers. I bet you're all scratching your heads as to which one I spend the most time in. But no, this is a really serious thing, because you think about, I talk to the pub landlord, I call him John in my ward, who actually says they're sick of working so hard to just pay an electricity bill that has quadrupled in 6 months. They're sick of it and they will give up business, and that's scandalous. But thankfully we've come forward with some really positive things, whether that's energy grants, whether it's business support events, where we've had over 100 businesses attend to get advice on driving down their energy costs, whether it's our high street grant scheme, the eco and diversification grants, which have had record interest, over 29 businesses to date and 10 more are in the pipeline. Whether it's the climate change fund that my colleague here, Caroline Healy, has pioneered, where we can support businesses to put in EV charging points that are powered from their existing photovoltaics in their business, or whether it's our business revenue supports team who have given advice to businesses to make sure they're getting the reliefs that they're entitled to. It's really, really fantastic stuff. And then just looking forward as well, the 2 million that we'll allocate to new business grants to help them with their driving down energy costs, or whether it's again linking to the climate change partnership, where we'll work with some of the bigger business in the town, like Denso, for instance, to develop more opportunities for energy generation. It's really, really fantastic support. As I say, we should be very proud of it, but it is a massive damning indictment of a Conservative government that have brought this country to its knees.
Thank you, Lee. Caroline.
I think when this strategy was first brought to Cabinet, I think I then said I was appalled that we even needed to do this, actually, and I'm still kind of appalled, actually, that we're in this situation, and that, you know, through that disastrous budget, you know, the country was kind of plunged into this chaos. But I think it, you know, as Lee Carter just said, it is an absolute testament, I think, to this organisation, to our incredible staff, the speed at which we've been able to respond. I mean, it's just the agility of this organisation to respond to crisis. We showed it through COVID, we've shown it again through this, and we're able to just adapt, change, and be there and be ready to help our community. And I think some of the really fantastic things in this for me are that they're not just sticking plasters, they're not just dealing with the here and now, they're actually things that are sustainable, that will help, you know, change things going forward. So things like the you know, the eco grants, the diversification grants for business, you know, the changes we're making along linked to reducing energy costs through the climate change funds, the light bulbs, and all of those things, they'll help reduce costs going forward. This isn't just about the here and now, they'll have longer term effects, and so I think despite the mess that we've been plunged into by this government, I think we'll come out of these things, as we did with COVID, we'll come out of these things stronger as a community, and all of that community support, volunteers manning the warm and welcoming spaces, all of that really strengthens Telford Wrekin, and so I'm really proud that we've been able to facilitate that.
Thank you, Caroline. Shirley.
Thank you. Obviously, a lot of, I think, what I want to say, my colleagues have already said, and so it's echoing it around the room. There's the excellent work that's shown in this report, where we're supporting our residents, but as my colleague Lee said earlier on, it's not only supporting our residents, it's supporting our high streets, it's supporting our businesses. And I think one of the things that has touched me, that a business said to me, it's about the fact how we give the diversification grants that's helping them actually survive as a business. We're giving them the chance that the traditional business they had isn't going to survive on that high street, but we've enabled and invested in them so they can do something slightly different, whether that be going online and providing a website, or helping them train to do something else, but they're surviving with our support. And those businesses are our families, they're the residents that live in our borough and help employ other people. So I think it's really, really important that that's recognised, as much as the work we're doing with the residents. But you know, we've got families who are surviving our support with food parcels, uniforms, shoes, winter coats, warm spaces, the list goes on. We couldn't do this without our partners, they help us deliver this. And so if we want to really continue in our community, like in my own ward, it is really tragic. I can go past most mornings, if I go past my local food bank in Rockwoodine Wood, they are queuing for that food bank in the morning to even open, and that is every day of the week. There are people queuing for the food bank. That's the one part of growth in my ward that I never dreamt I would actually see. And it's awful, but we are supporting not only with the support we give to things like the food bank, but if you just think of the 10 by 10 activities, the activities we're giving to all our children across the borough, and most of those are free. I've been very fortunate to go and see some of those. This week I went to Telford Sings, which is an activity with the free music we're doing with all the schools in our borough, and to see those children's faces, and some of them, it's the very first time they've been given that opportunity to go on a stage, to do a bit of performing arts. It's absolutely amazing. But we do all our activities, Kids for £1, our free swimming lessons, all of that helps with the cost of living crisis that our families are going through, as well as our council tax freeze. We are showing that we're on their side, and we always will be. But it's really sad that this is what we've come to in 2023. It's absolutely appalling. Similar to Eileen, I had an elderly resident who I was contacted the other day, and she broke down in tears on the phone, and it was tears of sadness but happiness that we'd given her a food voucher. She was so shocked that the council had given her money to buy her food. She'd never ever been in that position before. Saddened she was, but really appreciated what we did. We're actually, you know, reaching out to ordinary people and giving them support that they're not getting for anywhere else. And it's really sad that our residents have been reduced that by an uncaring, chaotic government who clearly are definitely not on the side of residents. And it is time for a change, and I hope we get that change. But it's awful that our residents are reduced to that. But with us, they do know. We protect, we care, and we invest.
Bill, I think for you. Well, as the only opposition person here today, but I'm beginning to wonder whether it's an omen to the future. But seriously, it is a bit rude that not even one of them could turn up to take part in this meeting today. Yeah, I echo all your thoughts, and this local authority can't do everything. It can't do everything we'd love to do, but by doing what we're doing, which shows that we care, we can't do everything. But we're out there, at least on people's side. So I really am pleased with what the officers have put together. It is really is laudable. And I would also look to our staff as well. We, 6% reduction in living standards this year. Never mind what's gone on in the past 3 or 4 years. Just this year alone. And our staff are at the forefront of this. They're having to produce all this work. They're having to take cuts in their, real take-home income. So a big thank you to them. And I echo that we need this government gone. It's enough's enough. They're looking all smug yesterday, what a marvellous budget it is. They're completely out of touch with how ordinary people are trying to really live their lives. And also, you look at the energy producers, and they're making record profits while people are struggling to actually pay their electricity and gas bills. You can't get your app around that. It's just bonkers. So I fully welcome every effort that this local authority is doing to make it a better standard of life for those that come under our authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Just before we move to the vote on the reports, I just want to echo what everyone said about our teams and partners and so forth. As I said in my introduction, but just to leave us with 2 or 3 facts on and stats on this. A shocking statistic yesterday I read was that if economic growth continues, or lack of growth continues, between now and the end of this decade, as a country we'll be poorer than Poland, which is pretty astonishing statistic. And if you look at the growth under the last Labour government, if that growth had continued over the last 13 years, our economy would now be worth an additional £800 billion, which are large numbers which don't mean too much to anybody but our residents. But I would just say to residents this, that if we didn't have to have this help and support, this £12 million worth of help and support, this is £12 million that we could do other stuff with. We could spend this £12 million on positive interventions, on improving things, on making things bigger and better. But instead, we don't begrudge it because this support is so desperately needed, but we're spending £12 million to deal with what is a national failing economic strategy. And hopefully we're not too far away from
that change that the country deserves. And I will just say, Bill, because you are the only opposition member here, so it's only right and proper that I do. The Liberal Democrats did not support our budget. You didn't vote against the budget, but you didn't support it either. And I'm sure that residents across Lawley and in other areas of Telford Wrekin will need to be reminded of that over the next few weeks. It's been proposed and it's been seconded. All those in favour? That's everybody. Thank you. We'll now move to item 6, which is the Invest Telford Performance Report. Thank you, Felicity and Catherine. Invest Telford Performance Report, item 6, pages 37 to 56. Lee Carter.
Thank you, Leader. If we cast our minds back to 2011 when Labour took control of the administration, there was a slogan that they invented at the time, but it was a bit more than a slogan actually: business winning, business supporting. And that was all designed, that policy was all designed about taking Telford back to being the economic powerhouse that it once was, and making sure that it continued that way. And the reason we did that was because we wanted better paid jobs for our residents, we wanted to secure successful businesses in the borough, we wanted to attract new business to the borough, we wanted better homes for our residents that would be generated as a result of this or built as a result of this, and as a side issue we wanted to be able to generate income from some of those deals to put into frontline services. And if you think about the surplus that was generated from the first year of our growth fund, I think it was about £1 million from memory, that funded about approximately 50,000 hours of adult social care in the borough that perhaps wouldn't have happened if we hadn't have taken that conscious decision to put in place a powerful economic development strategy. And how we've achieved that really is by working with partners, the local enterprise partnership in the Marches, even our partners in the West Midlands, not being isolationist, embracing those, working really hard to unlock funding to develop infrastructure, to win grant funding bids. The leader talked about the latest one in Wellington. I'd like to thank Kathy and Catherine not only for this report but the work that you did especially have done with the whole team here on securing that funding. But it also was a conscious decision for us to retain expertise in-house, whether that be architects or engineers or planners, retain all of that at the time during austerity when lots of other councils were getting rid of those functions. It also took conscious decisions in every one of those years since to support budgets that proposed funding for growth, whether that be £50 million growth package that did things like secure Audley Avenue, a business park in Newport that saved 100 jobs in Newport, or just around the corner, Nye Park, that has seen a £12 million investment attracting some of the most high-tech businesses, agri-tech businesses in the world to Telford and Wrekin, or whether you just have to drive through Horton Wood and see some of the businesses that we've retained there, international names, producing bins, airline counters, automotive components, power tools that go all around the world. That's as a result of those efforts. If we so in terms of this report, that summarises all of those things that have happened during that time. It talks about the land deal and growth fund. Again, the land deal, if we think about the land deal, which was an iconic deal, one of the first in the country, signed between a local authority, a local enterprise partnership and Homes England, that has unlocked brownfield sites across Telford and Wrekin. Whether it's the business support that we've offered that's seen local businesses be able to access more than £7 million of grants, whether it's a skills hub and job box that we've promoted for a number of years now to drive down the number of NEETs in the borough and give redundancy support to over 140 people. Whether that's infrastructure, as I talk on, we've got some real exciting developments. If you look out of the window here with Station Quarter that's due to come online. All of those things are encapsulated here, along with our work on the high streets, where we've seen record investment into high streets that's attracted jobs, that's attracted business, new business, start-up business, local entrepreneurs being able to set up for the first time on all of our local high streets. It's a real fantastic story to tell here, and it's something we're absolutely committed to delivering in the next term of a Labour administration. I'd like to move this report.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you. Eileen?
Yeah, I thoroughly welcome this. I mean, following on from Lee, which is difficult because I think he's covered most of it, if I'm honest. But yeah, thank you to the teams for the work that they do day in and day out in supporting businesses and skills and everything else that they're bringing through the borough. It is a whole package, you know, from sort of grants for businesses to the skills for growth, job promotion, everything that they do. And it's things like raising the skills levels, just working along sort of work-based academies with people like Telford College, which is really important, I think, and ensuring that we are upskilling locally so that we can support businesses in that way. But I think, again, you just need to put this into real terms, and that is 4,368 new jobs created through projects like this. I think, you know, 23,000 business supports that have been delivered throughout this period, and I just think, you know, they're massive figures, and they really are making a difference in what are really difficult times. So I really welcome this. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Yeah, I mean, the report, so there's a line in the report that talks about us being a borough of makers and innovators, and of course we've been that for over 300 years, as I represent the board, that where arguably innovation and well, an industrial revolution started. So I think it's right that we want to be that business winning, business supporting borough. But I think the thing for me, and Lee talked a lot about, you know, some of the bigger businesses that we've attracted and retained in the borough, but it's also, for me, it's about the high streets and the support for high streets. I think it's been really crucial, and you know, it's, as well as, you know, giving people you know, able to run their own businesses and employ others, it's just that vibrancy, isn't it, of our towns that's really important, because we all want to live somewhere that feels alive, that there's things going on, and that has all sorts of knock-on effects. So I think the support for high streets has been excellent. And then I just wanted to say I'm really pleased with the setting up of the sustainability and energy cluster that's chaired by Denzo as part of our climate change partnership. Again, showing that commitment to reaching net zero and working with our business partners on that, allowing businesses to really have that say and you know, tell us what they need, but also work with us to lobby government for things like grid connections, because I know that we've got businesses who want to do things like have, you know, they've got vast roofs, they want to put solar panels on them, but connectivity isn't there for them to do that, and that's where we need that national infrastructure. So I think having that group to be able to help us lobby for those things is really positive. So I think we've got a great relationship with business. We're getting lots of business investment. That's helping people with jobs, and that's helping people's standards of living. So absolutely support this report. It's a really excellent piece of work.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, as Lee said, it's been a journey for the last 12 years of business winning, business supporting. We've had our critics. We've had people, you know, vote against budgets where we're borrowing money. But this money that we borrow is there to invest in new businesses, to support the upskilling of our residents, and so it has to be put there on the table. You know, it's all right talking about, oh, you're borrowing, but this is very good borrowing. You know, it's getting businesses to come to this town, to create new jobs and to invest in this town. And as Carolyn says, our high streets, the money that we put in high streets, because lots of people only go to their local high street. They don't want to go to the town centre, they want to go to local high street. And the way that we've continue to invest in those businesses in our high streets, to keep them open, to look at diversification. That's what a business winning, business supporting council does across the board, across our town. But it does come down to sometimes realising that what that money we invest in and we borrow it into creates good opportunities for our residents, but also creates income into this council to support care packages and support the children in care. And they're the key things that we need to deliver for our residents. So it's a great report because it's shown what we're doing front facing, but also what we get back, the benefits from that, which people don't see, is the value in that investment.
Thank you. Kelly.
I would just say that of small and medium enterprises are 98%, they account for 98% of employment in Telford and Wrekin. So we're protecting businesses, but also our residents' jobs. You know, it's massively important, and what we want is residents who can set down roots and grow and develop and achieve in our borough. It's about protecting that as well. You know, it's about people feeling that they can take those, you know, opportunities when they come up, and that they're going to be able to succeed. That's vital for, I think, for people to feel that they can do that. So I think it's about people's jobs as well, and businesses, and really important that we protect and encourage that sort of growth. It's massive.
Yeah, I was writing in thinking, goodness me, you know, all those years ago when Telford Development Corporation came here and decided that they were going to really do a decent job regenerating the area, and Councillor Derek White, Labour Councillor Derek White, he said to me the once he can remember the days when there was 30% unemployment right across the sphere in the area. And it just shows that with the right local and national government intervention along with private investment, that partnership that you really do need, because private investment won't always do this. They won't touch the parts which are not very nice, like clearing up contaminated sites. It's government sometimes that has to step in and do that and provide those opportunities. So I welcome this from this local authority that is encouraging business to come. My own son works for a company that was probably attracted here many years ago by investment, and he works on a trading estate that's it's a lovely place to go to work. The phrase that I was part of the sentence I want to pick up on is attractive destination for investment, and I want to pick up on that because one of the hallmarks of what was done in the past, and it's still being done in part now, is the fact that those industrial estates, you don't even know sometimes they're there. They're covered in, I know it's probably when they first went up it wasn't as good, but they've now got mature green around them. You can drive through, it's not an affront to your senses, and you think, this is great. And one of the reasons people move here is for a business, or they come here to live, is because we are so green. So what I would say is that I welcome all of this that you're doing, but remember the green. Remember when we design, remember any influence that we can have in how industrial estates of the future are developed, and any other businesses. We encourage biodiversity, we encourage them to be hidden away and green as much as we possibly can within the realms of what we can achieve. But I welcome this report, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Just to finish this off, Lee quite rightly remembered the first half of our mantra in 2011 around business supporting business winning, but the other half was that we would support businesses in any sector, any size, to stay, grow, or come to Telford. And I think that's one of the things that we've ruthlessly focused on. And over the last 7 days, I've met two businesses right on the opposite ends of that spectrum. So a start-up business employing one person with a part-time worker who have got an idea around how they can upskill and support people to learn trades. And yesterday I visited a business that employs hundreds of people with plans to expand that with 200 or 300 or 400 new people here. And the message is clear from both those visits that I did, which is they absolutely understand that as a council we want to help and support them to come, to grow, to stay, and to upskill and to help with our recruitment. And today at the Telford International Centre we've got the Apprenticeship Employment and Skills Show, something we launched a few years ago. It's now the largest fair in the Midlands for jobs and apprenticeships, and people come from far and wide to access that support and access those job opportunities. And talking to businesses, as I do all of the time, they want to recruit people from Telford and Wrekin. And things like the 100 route bus, getting people from our council residential areas to our industrial parks is critical to that. And I think, in line with most new towns, we do everything that the government expects us to do around economic growth. We attract businesses, we get businesses to grow, we get businesses to come. Those people like Andrew I met yesterday, who didn't come from this area, but now is now got a job at this new business that went in a few years ago. He's now bought a house. He now lives in Telford. He's spending his wages in Telford, spending his money on the high street, spending his money in the restaurants. That is the eco environment that we have to encourage and support. But I do get frustrated. I've got to say that the government don't see this as a success story, and this is in line with other new towns and Milton Keynes, who I talk to all the time, about just how does the government realise that you can't continue to bank economic growth from these areas. They have to support and reinvest and reinvigorate our areas so that we can continue to contribute to the economic growth of the country. And I do hope and wish that we do see a change in tact in that regard. But thank you very much to our teams and to the council that have spoken today. That's been proposed and it's been seconded. All those in favour? That's everybody. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 7, which is the protected characteristics of care leavers and our local offer, which is Councillor Reynolds and follows on from our council motion at the last council meeting.
Thank you, Leader. First of all, I'd like to thank the officers for their very speedy work on this. It's something I'm really passionate about, and it was something I did want to get through as soon as we could to make sure that our youngsters benefit from this as quickly as possible. The independent review of children's social care, published May 22, recommended the government should make care experience a protected characteristic, and new legislation should be passed which broadens corporate parenting responsibilities across a wide set of public bodies and organisations. Sadly, you most probably are aware that the government hasn't brought this legislation forward, but here in Telford and Wrekin we can make that difference. I've witnessed firsthand myself during many years of teaching care experienced youngsters who face many significant barriers that impact them throughout their lives. We've already taken many steps to support our care experienced children, and these are shown in our refreshed local offer. Giving them exemption from council tax up to the age of 25, giving them priority status for social housing in our allocations policy, guaranteeing interviews, ring-fenced apprenticeships, and providing free leisure access for them and a friend. Increasing staying put so young people can stay with foster carers, and increased investment alongside housing partners provided dedicated move-on accommodation for young people leaving care. Well, I'm delighted that following my motion to full council on the 2nd of March, we are the first outstanding local authority in the country to include care leavers as a protected characteristic, giving us the opportunity to do even more for those children who were recognised in our outstanding Ofsted judgment as our children who are cared for and cared about. They are our children and we're a family. And it isn't just a corporate parenting responsibility, but it's treating them like our own children, protecting, caring and investing in every child. They're our family, our responsibility and our future. Protecting children in care is no different, and our ambition should be no less or no more absolute. Children in Telford and Wrekin are cared for and cared about. It is that simple. And for our care experienced young people, we aren't just the council and we aren't just services. The second part of the report is the refreshed local offer, which provides information about all the services and support that are available to care leavers, both the statutory elements as well as any discretionary support that we choose to provide. A key part of this is the requirement for local authorities to provide personal advisors to care leavers until they reach the age of 25. As well as this, Section 1 of the Children and Social Work Act 2017 requires local authorities to have regard to the 7 corporate parenting principles when discharging their function in relation to looked after children and care leavers. The local offer was brought to Cabinet in 2019, and this offer has now been refreshed with additional areas of support included. The local offer not only details the statutory requirement of support to care leavers, but also includes details of additional support and services that are available within our borough for care leavers or who've been previously looked after by Telford and Wrekin, and we're continually looking to improve that offer with new additions. We're working with local businesses and organisations, encouraging pledges to support care experienced young people. Examples of these locally have been to include free access to National Trust sites, donation of furniture and contents from Lavelle show homes for young people leaving care, and the Ironbridge Coracle Trust have made an opportunity to support our young people, giving them the opportunity to try paddling in a coracle once they'd made it. We've also worked with our social care and housing colleagues to further develop and strengthen our accommodation offer, so young people are not at risk of homelessness, and ensuring that any care leaver who is working with us to resolve their housing situation will not become intentionally homeless. A support package is offered to all our young care leavers, including financial support where applicable to pay the deposit on their first home, and whether it be for laptops, Wi-Fi, free driving lessons or mobile phones, and our very successful Leader and Cabinet Member Young Persons Grant Scheme, our young children will be cared for and cared about. I'm very proud of our improved local offer, but as corporate parents, we need to continually ask ourselves in everything we do, would this be good enough for my child? So I ask for your support with recommendations for 1.1 and 1.2 to ensure all the children in our borough will continue to be cared for and cared about.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you. Karen?
Yeah, I just want to thank you to Shirley, Joe and Darren really for your leadership on this issue. I'm absolutely delighted that we've got this report and that we are leading the way on this. I think being care experience is a double whammy really, isn't it? So children are in care, at the end of the care system for a whole host of reasons, and those reasons plus the act of separation in and of itself from both parents can lead to trauma, and that trauma lasts a lifetime, and that leads to attachment difficulties, issues with low self-esteem, often a difficult experience of the education system, and all of that kind of then manifests and comes out as behaviour, and often seen as a problem. All behaviour is communication, but we often view that as actually these behaviours are problematic. These people who've been through, have had those adverse childhood experiences often don't fit into our societal norms, and therefore that leads to lots of difficulties. So the sort of second part of that then is that obviously then leads to the stigma from others and how others view those who've been through all of that trauma. People are seen as as a problem or a risk, and therefore it's harder to get a job and and get somewhere to live, for example. So I think, and just to say that I think all of those views of people who are care experienced are often wrong, because actually those who've been through the care system, because of the fact that this system they've been through, are often incredibly adaptable, incredibly resilient, incredibly articulate and intelligent. They've had, at an early age, they've had to kind of master a system that's really complex for adults, actually. So I think it's brilliant that that we're doing this. I think we need to be, much more tolerant and empathetic as a society. We need to better understand the impact of trauma. But until we do, having care experience as a protected characteristic is vital, and I'm pleased we're taking the lead on this, and I hope the government soon follows.
Yeah, I've never been prouder than I was on Thursday night when this council unanimously voted that motion through. I mean, we've gone from a position where in 2012, when we took over, members of the council saw young people in care as a political football and used it in that way, and we've moved away from that, and I'm so proud that as corporate parents we unanimously voted that motion through. It is our responsibility as parents to look after, and that's all our responsibilities, not just the members on this side of the table, but also the officers as well, and we see that with their commitment, and I want to thank the officers for pushing this agenda forward. I think it will make a real difference to children's lives.
Yeah, I welcome this report. I think as a parent yourself, I look about my kids and you think, well, how were they offended for themselves at 16 or 18? I still think of the food parcels I send up to my son, and he's 28 in his bedroom. And I think, how on earth, seriously, how on earth, when you love your kids to bits and you think, how could you not just say, right, your care's finished now, off you go? You can't do that. So I really welcome this report, that we carry on giving that support as much as we can. So thank you.
Thank you. That's been moved, it's been seconded. All those in favour? That's everybody, thank you. Now move on to our last item then, item 8, safe and stronger neighbourhoods through the appropriate use of our enforcement powers.
Thank you, Leader. I'm pleased to bring this report to Cabinet today. As a council that is on the side of residents, the council fulfils a variety of enforcement duties spanning a number of services. This report focuses on activity undertaken by the neighbourhood enforcement and public protection teams who work to protect and support our residents, businesses and those who visit the borough. This activity meets our manifesto commitments to protect, care and invest, creating a better borough. This report clearly demonstrates that enforcement is a key priority for the council, but that there is a focus on consistency, education and lastly enforcement. There is a strong emphasis on partnership working that utilises available enforcement tools and powers to keep our neighbourhoods clean, safe and green. I won't go through all the numbers, but I do want to give you a brief summary of the work we have been doing in the last 12 months. This council has completed 8,800 more parking patrols than in 2021 and over 1,500 patrols outside schools promoting safe and considerate parking. Completed over 2,000 litter and dog fouling patrols, issued 138 fixed penalty notices for environmental crimes, investigated almost 5,800 fly tips, processed 1,150 licence applications, completing 175 compliance checks on licensed vehicles, and issued over 60 breaches of licences of two taxis. It supported over 175 victims of antisocial behaviour, seized over £37,000 of illegal goods, inspected over 80 pubs, clubs off licence to ensure conditions are met, and supported delivery of £900,000 of safer streets investment. This work has resulted in over a 40% reduction in fly tipping, a 10% reduction in antisocial behaviour. It has secured $147,000 from DEFRA to develop initiatives for increased awareness on air quality, and meant investigations of over 660 breaches of law complaints. The team have inspected over 120 licensed premises and businesses and completed 57 multi-agency exercises. Furthermore, we've launched a CCTV pilot in taxis, and over 50 licensed premises signed up to Licensing Security and Vulnerability Initiative. While we know the borough is a safe place to live and work, the council is working hard to improve safety and the lives of our residents, from tackling fly tippers, supporting victims of antisocial behaviour, and educating people about parking around school to ensure illegal goods, and to also ensure illegal goods are removed from sale. This is the work we do day in, day out, and we are on the side of those who play by the rules. As Cabinet Member, I'd like to offer my appreciation for all the enforcement activity undertaken during 2022 and the team's focus on keeping residents safe, which of course drives Telford Wrekin to be cleaner, greener and safer, and makes our borough a great place to live. I move the recommendations in the report.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you, Lee.
Yes, I really welcome this report. We've always said that we want to be on residents' side, and there's no finer way of demonstrating that than through our enforcement activity, some of which is outlined in this report, whether that be tackling antisocial behaviour, whether it be tackling the scourge of fly tipping that is a real blight in some areas of our community, or whether it's things like our robust licensing arrangements in relation to taxis, and also the trial of CCTV in taxis, which has actually fallen out of a piece of work that's come from the Tom Crowther independent inquiry. So really support this, and you only have to go out into most neighbourhoods, and I know Bill, yours for instance, Shorebirch, where there's been a fly tipping problem down there, but wherever we represent, actually this agenda is high on the agenda of our residents, which shows we're moving in the right direction. And again, with a Labour administration after May, we'll continue this work and take it further.
Thank you. Only a really quick comment really. I do really welcome the work that's gone on around this report, and I think it's just nice to see something coming down instead of going up at the moment. So seeing that reduction in fly tipping, I can't ignore it. So you've got a 40% reduction in fly tipping. That's fantastic. I think we should be really proud of that, and 10% reduction in antisocial behaviour. It's really good to see that coming down. I hope it keeps coming down, not like everything else going up. But thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, the work on safer streets is all part of the enforcement process, and I'm really pleased that residents can see that we're on their side through this process, and the work we're doing with landlords around that as well, in terms of dealing with some of the issues that we get for those landlords that aren't meeting the requirements that they should be meeting for their tenants. Is really important. So yeah, again, it's showing that this council, this Labour-run council, is on the side of our people in Telford and Wrekin. Thank you.
We just to say, as Woodside councillor, and I'm sure Ray's nodding, it's made a huge difference to Woodside. So just thank you for that. This piece of work's been brilliant, and speak to people, or when people come out with us, they're surprised how much better Woodside is than they anticipated or thought. So really good, and people are really engaging with that process now, reporting it in, and when we do report them, they're gone. They move really quickly. So it's fantastic, because people, despite what some people say, really do care about where they live on Woodside, and really passionate about making it as best they can. So it's really important that work's happened. So just thank you for that. It's really good.
No, I fully welcome this report. People really do appreciate the fact that fly tipping can be tackled. I was only putting a leaflet out the other day at no cost to my residents. I'm joking. And one of the calls I had back straight away was, can you do something, Bill, about, I've just moved into the area, about, you know, unruly dogs and dog fouling. And I said, yeah, I'll put an item in my newsletter. She said, oh, that's great. Because people want to live in a safe, secure area. They want to live in an area where it's clean. And it's amazing, because there's loads of residents in my ward now that litter pick and become street champions. And the idea that you had was a great one. And I used to go out in my Labrador and litter pick. And people think, oh, here's that loony again with his litter pick picking up. Well, they're probably right about the loony aspect. But the fact that people do that now, my ward has never been so clean. Don't get me wrong, the council's doing its bit and Wellington Town Council are, but the fact that people do that, and it makes people feel so much better where they live, the fact it is clean, and it discourages those from being antisocial, and they think, oh, we can't get up. You don't do that sort of thing here. So, no, I fully welcome this. The enforcement team are one of my bestest of friends, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill. I just want to say that, you know, be on the side of residents means we're on the side of responsible residents, and we're not on the side of residents who want to pollute or not play with the rules, and we'll go after you. But that's our CCTV cameras or our CCTV enforcement hub, and we will prosecute people. And I think we've had a statistic this week that we've almost issued a fine a day over the last few weeks of people who are fly tipping, and there's just no excuse for it. You can dispose of your waste in your wheelie bins. You can go to your HRCs, your tips, 363 days a year, and we've got free and discounted bulk collection charges, bulk collection services for home collectors. There's just simply no excuse for it. And when you dump waste, you're letting someone else pay for it, and that's residents that are paying for disposing of your rubbish. Whether or not it's fly tipping or whether it's been a bad landlord and not treating your tenants with respect, we'll come after you and we'll deal with you. And I think that's really, really important that we do that. And one of the things that I want to thank Richard for is his leadership on this agenda, because when I became leader of the council in 2016, this was an area that I focused on as an area that we need to be better at, and I think we certainly are. There's more that we can do, there's more that we will do, but the message, as Bill quite rightly said, if you live in your area, then you need to respect that area and your neighbours, and you'll have a great time living here. But if you don't, we'll come after you. Good. Well, that's been proposed. That's been seconded. All those in favour? That's everybody. Thank you very much. And I'll call this meeting to an end. Thank you.